What's going on? Microphone check.
Yeah, I can hear you.
How's everything going?
Good. A little late. Sorry about that.
No, we're good.
I looked at the clock and I'm like, oh, I got time for get all this and coffee and get down here. It's like 6:35. What the hell? So
You start your new gig today?
no, January 5th.
Okay.
So I got a couple weeks, 2 weeks from yesterday. So I've got some time. I was thinking about making a video about monads.
Okay.
So I've watched this video. It's called like "Don't Fear the Monad" or "How Not to Fear the Monad" or something like that. And I've watched it maybe 3 times. I think that the only thing that video does is succeed at getting you not to fear the monad. But it doesn't. I mean, it explains. It gets you rolling on the concepts, but there's a point in it where he starts to get. He steps too far away, I think, from representing it in a way that's understandable. So I was thinking about making a video about trying to demystify the parts that I got caught on that video. And I'm still caught on.
Or you can make a video on why you shouldn't care about a monad. Like, I understand that vocabulary is extremely helpful in expressing an idea.
Yeah.
But are monads overrated? Like, is it? You hear people talk about monad, functor, monoid, gibberish.
Mm-hmm.
And are they using these scientific or fancy terms to really showcase their vocabulary within the software engineering domain, or are they really on to something? And are these FP patterns? I assume that's what they're called. Are they really helpful in the grand scheme of things, helping people build better systems, or is it just a status symbol for people to know what they are? And we do it every day. We just haven't assigned a name to it.
Yeah, I think we do it. I mean, when you get into all of those monoids, functors, monads, all that, you've developed them probably, and I think he says this in the video, and it's true. I've come across this, is that you develop them naturally anyways. It's just putting a name to the patterns. It's the same thing with design patterns probably too. Like, people created singletons probably long before they knew what the hell a singleton was. It was just a pattern that emerged. Now, obviously, they've got certain mathematical stuff that came before with these patterns, but and naming and all the category theory and all that. But I think that in practice they're useful. But it could be that my understanding of them all is all wrong too. So the big thing for me was I think was understanding how to the combination of like two maybe types, and having to create a map where I took a maybe type and passed in a function that mapped the type to a maybe type, and then how to combine those two things. So I don't know. Like I said, I think you create them anyways. And I guess it's nice to have a name associated with them if you needed to call them out. But yeah, the usefulness of calling them out, I don't know. I guess,
I think it's a status symbol.
Yeah. And it's not like,
it's not bad to not know it. I just think it's more of a status symbol. Just like, I didn't mean to cut you off, I'm sorry, but just like learning functional programming and able to like build useful software with it, you can still do the same thing object-oriented programming, and there are advantages. But right now in 2020 going into 2021, with mainstream really not appreciating how FP can make them more productive, it's nothing but a status symbol. That's all it is. And so they tell me I'm an elite programmer and stop tweeting about, why you're a bad developer, because if they look at my profile, they'll see FP attached to it and they say, that's why he says that. So I just think it's a status symbol, man.
Yeah. Well, maybe. Like I said, I see the usefulness for naming patterns with, the traditional Gang of Four design patterns. Like we have a common language to go like, and you create those things, whether you in OOP type world and in many ways other type of worlds too. But like a singleton, like if we say that, we know what that means, and you know what that means. I know what that means. You know how to construct it, probably. I know how to construct it. Like we know what the downsides of it are, which are a lot. But there's obviously some good sides to it too.
There's a lot of downsides to a singleton. Because I only have one downside.
Well, just the concurrency issues and stuff like that. You're dealing with a shared state.
Well,
I don't know.
That's any object that has state and behavior combined.
But that's, the thing that's nice about the design patterns book too is you could just pop in here, find the singleton pattern, and say, hey, what are the bad parts about it?
I was going to say flexibility. You actually have to add a teardown stage to your automated tests or to your unit test specifically, especially if you have subsequent unit tests that need to start from a clean slate and they're supposed to run in isolation independent of other tests that ran before or after.
Yeah. Testability is too. But shared state is another. If you think about it, you've got a single thing across many potential threads that.
Yeah, but my argument is that, I hear you say singleton, but I say all objects that have state and behavior coupled to that one value or that one instance.
Oh, sure. But anyways, there's meaning attached to the word, though, is the thing, and it produces a certain level of knowledge or pulls a certain level of knowledge out of you. I don't know if that's the same with monads and monoids and other things, which are patterns, but I don't know anybody who I guess walks through their code and is like, oh yeah, I'm going to explain my design and this is a monad here. Nobody does that. It's you just don't do it. So yeah, you're probably right. There's probably little value in it. Although other than perhaps, giving context to it in the way that he did, which is trying to get the fear away from the word. Because that is one thing, is that if you don't at least it's a scary word, and you might retract from it because you have no knowledge to draw upon. Helping clear that up so that you functional program people aren't so scary. No, so that you aren't an elitist group that knows monads. No, is maybe valuable. I don't know. I'm just jesting there, but I don't know. How's your week going so far, though?
It's going.
You seem a little off this morning.
Something's not right with me, but no, I'm wrapping up with the contract, and I said I was going to resume work on my passion project, and probably tomorrow. And I remember I got stuck on I have these typed, I don't know what you want to call them. They call it, What do you call a class or a type that takes a generic parameter that operates on?
The generic
Yeah.
parameter,
So
like
for example, when you declare,
generics, like a list or
yeah.
a
But
generic.
when you create your own complex type that operates on a specific type that you have to declare, right? So you say my complex type within angle brackets, my widget, and then you have like methods or functions that operate on um, on that widget type. Okay, imagine that I single-handedly implemented a list class in C
Hmm.
Sharp. And so if you look at the definition of list, it's a generic that you have to include as you declare something of list, right? Something of list string, something of list integer.
Yeah, generics. Yeah.
Yeah, but what's the formal name for a class that, or you just call it generics and that's it?
Well, I guess it depends on what you're trying to say. So, like, if you have an abstract class with generics that you have to implement, that's an abstract generic class, probably, or
Okay, so
maybe. I mean, in C++ they call them template classes. I don't know if that we use that term in C sharp or in the .NET world.
it
Is
makes sense to me. It sounds better. So I have
yeah.
these template types, and what I was struggling with like 3 months ago before took on another client and I had to drop everything was how to persist, how to save those instances, those typed, those templated instances or values, and then rehydrate it later on when the application resumes. And I couldn't, for the life of me, figure out how to do that without writing complicated code.
Well, how are you saving it otherwise?
I wasn't. So
Oh,
here's um, I have I call them topic, I call them Azure topic listeners.
okay.
And they do exactly that. They listen for messages with specific topics to be published. And so these Azure topic listeners are templated types. So they're going to operate on a specific data type for each
Yeah.
instance, right?
So you
And
pass it like this is the shape of the message that you're listening for.
exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
wasn't going to be able to articulate that part, but yeah, exactly. And
Okay.
so during the application lifecycle, someone may put a different app on their device in the forefront, which suspends my application, which I need to perform an unsubscribe because I believe that's the reason why I'm getting all these errors, like hundreds and thousands of them, because the the Azure server is no longer able to communicate with the client that subscribed to it. And the same thing with resume is it needs to resubscribe, right? When the application resumes, when that app is put back into the forefront of a person's iPhone or Android phone. And it wasn't clear how I like save the state of all my Azure topic listeners and then rehydrate them later. It wasn't clear. And so that's kind of going on through my
Yeah.
mind. I haven't looked at the code in like 3 months, but I remember I was stuck on that part.
Well, what state are they storing that you'd have to save? Just their connection information or what?
Yeah.
Okay, so you copy the connection information to a DTO and then write a mapper to it, then store it to JSON or whatever, and then write a mapper back out when you need to rehydrate it. I love that term
Oh,
rehydrate, by the way. I like the term hydrate in
yeah,
code
I
for
like
some reason.
hydrate too. I was thinking, and I'm almost positive I attempted it, but I don't know why. I don't know what roadblock I ran into. Thought process is I'll use a dictionary the the because every Azure topic listener operates on a type that you need to specify as a template, that will be the name, that would be the key, right? So I say name up. Yeah, so I have this registry, aka dictionary, and I think I'll just whatever the name of that specific type is that that topic listener needs to operate on. I think I'll just have the registry of that as the key. Then I'm able to get access to the actual value. Mm-hmm. I swear I think I tried that already. I don't know why I was struggling. I don't know. It's been 3 months, but
still not convinced to switch over to using SignalR with a proxy.
I am using SignalR. I'm using SignalR to monitor or for location tracking of both the courier and the customer.
You know what I mean for message process, like on the client.
No, because I mean, feel free to correct me, but SignalR is real time, meaning that I need to. Maybe you're helping me think through this, but SignalR is tracking everything in real time, and I need to, regardless of if the user is using the application, I need to log their locations over time, period. I just need to capture that data. And so I feel like it's probably better for me to just use topics that report location so I could just save it versus SignalR, which I thought is really just user focused, end user focused.
Well, no, it is. It's
UI focused.
It's SignalR is two-way communication to, something, right? It's a two-way highway, whereas most web development is a one-way highway, right? So I can spit data back, but I can request data, but I can also be push data. So the way that I would think about doing this is to have a SignalR instance that's interacting with individual clients and intimately talking back and forth. And then the web server itself, whatever actor is communicating with SignalR over SignalR to that device, is then pushing that data that comes into the message bus, which gives you better control over, who's got access to it and who's consuming from it. But also some additional, there's some trade-offs in complexity, but there's also you gain in, I guess, some control. So you're saying, like, if I'm at, as I'm traversing around, I'm getting my location updated, right? And then I want to push that off so that somebody on the other side can see where I'm at. Is that the use case you're talking about?
The use case I'm talking about is I do use SignalR, but it's for both users of the application, hence the courier and the customer, to see each other's current location. Sure. On a periodic, interval or cadence, right? So maybe like, and that time interval is going to change the closer the proximity they are. So it may be like every 3 seconds when they're like, 2 or 3 miles apart, the time interval of reporting that location to the person, to the other viewer that has the app. But then when they get within, let's say 500 feet, then that time interval probably needs to be like per second, right? So that they can find each other on the beach or at the park. So that's one scenario. Is SignalR is literally for the user interface scenario of them tracking one another. But in regards to the business, I want to capture, especially when it comes to any type of issues or discrepancies, I need to capture the route and also the time where the courier, for whatever reason, went off the grid or was, I don't know, maybe there was a bottleneck. I need to track how much time they were at a specific location, right? So for investigative purposes, in case something comes up, I just feel like that's good to capture. So that's not using SignalR. That's just um, the application is going to publish their location to Azure Service Bus on a regular interval, and I just save that information or do whatever else I want with it.
Isn't that the same? That's the same process, though, right? Isn't it? So if you have, if my position is A, I'm going to send up A to the server so that it can be used for two things. One is to tell the person I'm delivering to where I'm at, but two is for you to know where I'm at. Right?
The answer is yes.
Okay.
The difference, or my excuse, is because whenever people discuss SignalR, it's always from a UI perspective, and so that's the frame that I came in at. I didn't. In hindsight, yeah,
Well,
I
this,
probably would have took. I probably would have considered more of it just being, some type of like part of the server period. But they always describe SignalR as, for a chat room, for instant messaging, for real time events that's observable, through a user
yeah.
interface.
Well,
And
I'm not saying that's wrong. We might be saying the same thing. I mean, I get using the message bus to communicate on the back end between two servers that you have control over. Like that's a normal use case, and I would expect that. So, like, if I'm gonna, as person who's delivering, publish my location up, I might do that through SignalR or not really through SignalR, but through just an API endpoint saying, "Hey, here's my location." It's a push, right? I'm pushing out. That then gets pushed to a service bus that, or an event hub potentially even, so that anybody can read off where my location is. Any consumer that cares about that. Now the web server might choose to communicate to another web server or within a node or something like that to issue that, tell the person who's waiting where I'm at. I guess that could be achieved through by listening to those events though. So if you fan out to every server listening and you know that the person's, on one of them.
the other part to take into consideration is, and I could review it again, but I think SignalR is more expensive when it comes to just messages, period, compared to Azure message server bus,
Oh,
message bus, whatever it's called.
I wouldn't expect that because it's just web to web communication, right? There's
So
nothing special about it.
I'm using Azure SignalR, and
Hmm.
uh, they have a price tier. Again, I'm not going to be able to find it right now, but it's like $30 for so many messages, and then I thought it was like, $50 or $100, for 4 times the amount of messages. And when you're location tracking, like that could be expensive because it's not just one saga of a
Yeah.
courier and a customer that you're tracking, right? This could be like 10 sagas going on at the same time in South Beach, and then like two more sagas going on, or another 10 sagas going on in Myrtle Beach, right? So it seemed as if it was way more expensive, especially if the time intervals of sending a location is every 5 seconds, and then when they get within like 500 feet, it's like every second or so. Like that stuff, it's going to inflate the cost. Whereas message bus is a lot cheaper. So
Yeah. I wonder if they're just with. I was just thinking of adding SignalR to a web service. I wasn't thinking about Azure SignalR service, which it looks like they. I don't, unless they solve concurrency issues or something like that. Because like when you're dealing with something like a chat room or whatever, and you've got multiple nodes, you have problems with consistency, across those nodes. So, if I'm connected to node A and you're connected to node B, how do the server know when I send a message to send to node A or to B and then to send it back down to one another? There's concurrency. And so maybe they're doing some solving there. I wasn't thinking about Agile Signaler Service though. I was just thinking of, hey, you start a website and it's got Signaler on it. And you use it that way. So, but yeah, I guess I don't know the Azure ecosystem well enough. They've added some stuff, but maybe still, even with just the resource allocation of having that always on or whatever, um, if you have to have a higher tier web thing to do it, maybe it is more expensive. I don't know.
I got passed on the interview. I thought I was going to get that job for real. So that was kind of disappointing.
I'm sorry. That sucks. Was it a seemingly good job, or?
It was presented as one. Now I'm like considering retaliation and being more motivated to get this project done. So then I could see if I could take 0.01% of their market share with it.
Oh, so they're like a a Food Dudes or like a Grubhub or
e-grocery,
DoorDash,
e-groceries.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, it's their decision. I just feel like I wrote so much code that one, I can identify with it, and two, like they can get it for free and then like refine it, make it rock solid production ready. If they feel like they could use it. So like part of me is kind of motivated to like go after their market share in like maybe 18 months.
I better find a good business partner then.
I feel like that's impossible. Everybody that like demonstrates beast mode, they're not interested in partnering with me. Like they're either doing their own thing or like it's just weird, man. Or they want to accomplish their own vision, their own dream. Oh, of course, I'm speaking from a programmer perspective. I'm not talking about marketing or any of the other business responsibilities.
Yeah, I'm talking. You don't necessarily need other tech people right off the bat. What you need is a business focused person. How do you wield tech?
I wish I could get Odie on my team so bad.
Maybe you should try to seek to get on Odie's team wherever he is. I don't know what he's doing.
That's a thought. I think he just gets inundated with work because he does a 9 to 5. I think he's a full-time employee, and so I'm not sure if it's reality, but I feel like he's probably addressing firefighting issues and trying to get features out the door. And I don't know. I can't really speak for him. I just wish I could. I wish the stars would align where I could convince him to like help me build something and we can be rock star like founders of something and get published on all the minority tech magazines and stuff. I can't convince him to like work with me.
Well, yeah, I guess if he's busy, but yeah, it's really hard to see someone else's vision on stuff. That's why, like I said, you kind of need a business like if you have a business person who's already had funding or already found funding and they're just looking for the person to partner with, that's easy. You can get a business person that's willing to find funding before, as part of it and then go from there. That's good too. I don't know. Just like tech stuff is like, especially if you're not in a building tech tools or just stuff that's purely technology based, it's going to be a little bit difficult. Or if you're scratching your own itch and then it just becomes a product, I mean, that's another way that this stuff happens. But like, I think we underestimate how important the business end of any venture is. And if you don't have that skill set, you need to find someone with that skill set to do it. So,
yeah, I know for a fact that I'm not the face of a business.
well, you could be the technology face of a business. There's CTOs that are very widely known and stuff like that, and you can be that. It's just whether you're doing the CEO activity or not is the thing. Because there are people who just want, like, business is the game and that they want to play, and they want to go hunting for, and they want to cash out big and stuff like that, or they want to build organizations, or they want to change the world or whatnot. So
I built so much infrastructure. I can't stop. I have to finish it.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird. It's conflict of interest. I kind of like look forward to having the next maybe 3 months to just probably dedicate maybe 4 hours a day on the passion project. And I feel like I just want to get this out. Man. But then it's like,
But when it's out, what is it? Yeah.
I'm missing out on money. So like the old school conditioning is, no, Scott, you always need to have income coming in. You have other responsibilities now. You have other obligations, financial obligations. You need to make sure that you're always in good standing financially. Like, that's the other angel on my shoulder whispering into my ear. The devil is like, nah, man, retaliation is a must. They didn't hire you. So you need to be immature and act out. And this is your motivation for getting this done, right? Because you need to make them understand that it was a mistake that they didn't hire you. All right, that's my ego taking over. That's the devil on the other side of the shoulder. So I do wish I had 3 months to just bang it out. We'll see. If I'm willing to like accept like 65 or 70 an hour, then I'm sure I could get a job probably or a contract probably within like 3 weeks. It's just my ego. It's like, no, F that, 95 or 100. That's the thing. I was considering, I know I'm talking about. Things would be a lot easier, and I don't really know what it looks like. If there is a platform for or even a program where there can just be on quarterly, right, throughout the year, like there's a dedicated weekend for like a hackathon. And it doesn't have to be start to finish. It could be whatever project that you have that's pending, like quarterly throughout the year. There's a weekend where, I know it's COVID, but there's some type of platform where people can demonstrate what they have and what their goal is for the next like 72 hours. And it's just, I don't know, you put in $10 or whatever, that goes to some charity, Black Girls Code or whatever it is. And everybody's programming hardcore and like presenting their accomplishments at the end of it. Like, that's what I was considering when I was riding my bike a couple of days ago.
Yeah. I mean, there's not really a presentation part, but game jams, like that infrastructure is already built for game jams. Itch. I don't know if you're familiar with Itch, but
I can watch you, or what's that? Ludum
Dare,
or whatever that is. That the same thing or different?
Yeah, Ludum Dare is a game jam. They have their own website, but there's at any given time, there's probably 24 game jams going on. So if you were to go to like itch.io/jams, then you just kind of cruise through it. I mean, there's maybe, I don't know, 30, 40 maybe different game jams listed there that you can kind of participate in at any given time.
Yeah, I mean, the intent is motivation for people to push. Like, they hit a plateau, they get busy with life, But if there's something quarterly that they could say, you know what, I'm gonna let people know this is going to be my focus for this weekend. It's 4 times a year where this is where I'm focused on. There's camaraderie with other people in the industry, and this will help me like get to the finish line.
Yeah,
Right?
that's game jams in a nutshell. But it's not about it's about games though. But that's exactly what game jams are for the most part. You can do it solo. People do it but you do it in teams too. Finding people to be on a team with, like, that's something I've never been able to. Like I in my interview, I was talking about Ludum Dare, and I've always done it solo and stuff like that. And they're like, well, why have you always done it solo? And it's like, because finding a group of people, like as an adult male, that you want to build out a game with on a weekend, or that's interested in it. Like I've had people do like the one weekend thing, and I'm like, all right, they're liking it. Maybe that we'll end up doing this together sometime, and they fade off after one or two. So, but finding an artist or something, I don't know. And I just getting like, maybe I'm too shy to just go to randos on the internet and be like, I'm looking for a team, So, because it's like,
well, you probably go on Twitter and recruit.
Yeah, I could try.
Not Twitter. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Twitch. The last thing there, they already demonstrate they're motivated. It's just, can you convince them to work on something new?
Yeah,
that's not their baby.
Man, I have a hard time just finding like I don't know, and maybe it's because I never accept people's friend requests, but like I want to play League of Legends with other people.
I like that on LinkedIn. Anyway, so I do that on LinkedIn. Like I get hella requests. It's like, no.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I want to play League of Legends with other people too, but I don't have, so I just play by myself. It's the infliction we all have, probably, that it's really hard to find people to do things that you like with.
I've been building,
especially as an adult male. So
I've been building up hella neuroplasticity on Halo Wars, man. It's weird how I still discover new things I never saw before in the game.
You're not playing that on your PlayStation, though.
I'm playing on my Xbox right now. My PlayStation doesn't get in another 3 weeks.
Oh, gotcha. So you've basically pre-ordered it for a while.
I didn't know it would take that long. I was spamming. Soon as Walmart opened up the queue to start ordering, man, I was spamming that. Because I've been trying to get it for like 3 weeks, man. I kept failing. I was getting upset.
Yeah. Oh, and on the topic of hackathons too, I'm pretty excited though that the company that I'm started with, they actually have a company hackathon. I don't know if it was once a year, a couple times a year, or something like that. So, but
the last one I did was sponsored by Office Depot. It was well supported too. Yeah, man. I miss. Someone tweeted. I'm scatterbrained right now. Someone tweeted something I found interesting. Where's it at? Oh, someone has said. Let me see. Why is it that I keep hearing from devs about .NET fatigue, frustration with the ecosystem leading to them jumping ship? Is this unique to .NET or to the .NET ecosystem, or perhaps symptomatic of their point in career needing a sea change? And I was like, choose your language, choose the people you work with.
Oh yeah.
I think they grow tired of the mental capacities of the typical, air quotes, .NET developers. And that's what I sincerely feel, man.
Well, do Java developers then have are they just faced with what am I thinking, Stockholm syndrome or something? Are the Java developers, because the language from that perspective, the languages are very similar, right? In fact, you just get less churn with Java, but the tooling, I think, is a lot more painful to work with. But you think you'd see the same, or maybe they just don't talk about it. The shedding of people from it. I don't know.
I mean, there's no secret that I don't have a huge amount of respect for Java developers. Uh, I don't know, man. I really do believe that the language that people program in is likely to dictate probably 2/3 of the type of personalities those developers have when it comes to professionalism and their thought process of how they accomplish tasks. I do believe that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have .NET fatigue at all. I don't have a problem with the ecosystem. I mean, they obviously they went through a necessary, painful transition, right? Because .NET 4 to .NET Core and taking 3 years or whatever to my Roman happy holidays, um, taking 3 years to get back where we now have a just .NET again. So it's a singular ecosystem, although there's all sorts of prior versions, but that's true of everything. I mean, Python took, I don't know how long, there's still Python 2 code running out there and it's still a thing. It's not dead by any means. But Python 3, now that they're like 3.9, I guess maybe they've reached maturity where people have jumped over. But yeah, there's been in the last 3-4 years a lot of churn in the .NET space because of the transition that Microsoft has had to take to get it to be a non-Windows based thing. But now that I think we're in .NET 5 land and we're back into kind of a uniform world, things are probably going to settle down, I'm guessing.
I still don't know what .NET 5 really means.
It just means that they're not doing .NET full framework anymore.
Well, I mean, but I thought that was .NET Core. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
what the difference is.
So they're basically just dropping the in short, they're just dropping the core part of it, and they're saying this is now .NET. And they're I don't think they're supporting full framework anymore. They're not going to go on continuing to develop that. So
Hold up. They're not going to support WPF anymore?
Well, no, they will, but that's part of the Windows package of targeted frameworks or whatever. So that's a Windows specific thing. .NET Core doesn't actually support, from what I understand, it doesn't support WPF or Windows Forms cross-platform. So you can't build a Windows Forms app and have it run on Linux. You're targeting a Windows runtime or something like that is basically what it is, or a Windows specific framework. So if you were to go into create a .NET 5 project right now, that is a WPF .NET project. I think the targeted framework is like, .NET 5-Windows is what it's called. So it's just the reunification and it's simplification of the whole thing. That's not a step they could have taken right up front, but there's probably also a logical reason for it, because you hit .NET 4 and now you're conflicting with .NET 4. So if it's .NET 4 full framework and .NET Core 4, like, it's the same thing like they had with when they jumped from Windows 8 to Windows 10. Like Windows 9 conflicts with 95 and 98. So
I want to meet Roman. We'll see if Roman has the bandwidth to hop on for the next 10-15 minutes. I'm being spontaneous right now.
Yeah, why not? It's 2 days before Christmas break time.
And all through the house. Oh, yeah, no.
I wish that not a mouse was even stirring around my house. Mice, man, I tell you. But I got a cat just for mice. He lives in the garage. We named him Murder Death Killer, but we call him Mur for short.
You haven't had an exterminator treat the house and plug whatever holes they need to plug?
They're not in our house. They're just in what they've been doing is, so our car, our SUV, it's a Ford Flex, the HVAC system in it is the vents are big enough for mouse to climb through. So they've eaten their way through the air vent or whatever, the air filter, and they were crawling around in our car and crapping in the HVAC system.
Oh,
Got
dude,
smelly.
I get so freaked out, man.
Yeah, it's gross.
I get so freaked out. I mean, I had hamsters, but
It's dank, man.
I had hamsters, but for whatever reason, the tails of a mouse or a rat is the only difference that I need to freak me out and
Yeah.
for me to have phobias.
They're
Like,
not that like they're not. These are just field mice. They're not grody. They're kind of, they could be kind of cute, but like they're just disgusting. It's all they crap everywhere. They pee everywhere. They stink. If it wasn't for that, I don't have a problem with it. But the cats caught a couple of them because we found some organs laying around. I caught a half-eaten one once that I had to throw away. So, and then in our pole shed, they run rampant out there. But my wife set up just a bucket with some water and a pole or like a stick over it. And those mice, they all fell in. We have like 6 of them in a bucket right now in water, frozen. They're frozen, so I've got to wait till the spring to throw them out. But they fell in and drowned.
what? So you'll put like some food on the stick?
No, they just walked up and did it. We didn't even bait it. They just walked out to the middle, fell off, and drowned. I don't know if mice are dumb or what, but
B40 on the middle of the stick, and then they
no.
slip.
All we did was she put the 5-gallon bucket with about half full of water and put a stick over it, and they just walked up and basically, I don't know if they were thirsty, and then they realized, I don't know, played the TikTok, oh no.
Oh no, that's a horrible death though. I've almost drowned, and I had flashbacks probably for like the next like 5 months that I had a hard time shaking off.
Yeah, I'm sure getting eaten by a cat is probably a worse death though. Maybe. I mean,
holy crap, Roman! Holy crap!
Ooh.
Hey, Roman. Hey, you.
Hey, Roman, how you doing?
Hey. Ooh, I'm not sure if this is working actually. I have no clue.
It's working.
Let me try to remember my trivia.
Oh, I think my son didn't go to sleep, so I maybe have to drop out immediately.
No worries. No worries.
If I leave, then it's because of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try to remember my trivia. Sean, where does Roman live?
Oh gosh, was it? It wasn't Denmark, was it?
I think it.
No, not Denmark.
It had Sweden. Because I know
it's a Scandinavian country, right?
It's not Scandinavian. It's Central Europe.
Oh, Switzerland.
Yes.
There we go.
To me, they're all the same. Like that's how messed up I am.
No, Switzerland's.
It's completely different culturally.
I don't know. It's like I don't know if because of the name or for some other reason, like in the US, it's always mixed up Sweden and Switzerland. Maybe the name is too close or something because of that. I don't know.
I have a private chat in here. Did you send me that, Sean?
I don't
Oh,
know.
no, Roman did that. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Roman, you're a .NET developer?
Yeah, mostly I would say more.
You don't like having that label. You're just a developer and you pick a
Yeah,
tool.
no, I mostly at least started most in the JVM, and it's still kind of my base home. Like I know mostly in the JVM environment, but I kind of worked in many companies for years also on the .NET platform. So it's like
There's a huge difference between your typical .NET developer's thought process and how they approach challenges versus a typical Java developer.
I think they're quite similar. I always worked in small companies, so that's maybe the biggest difference because like you're kind of more flexible in small companies and many people do a lot of things at the same time. So like in my last company, I really worked kind of from the desktop clients to the backend services on the and the deployment of services, like kind of everything. So yeah.
So you just do startups?
I wouldn't say startups per se, but like small companies. Yeah.
Okay.
I think usually when I joined a company, as like the smallest was like 4 people-ish, or yeah. Like my typical joining point is when the company is like 4 to 10 people. And after a few years, I leave.
That would be my dream job, is to either work by myself or work with a small group of people.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a different atmosphere with a small group.
It is probably
a large company. Yeah.
Work with a small group of elite programmers, or even have like a junior developer that really knows more than me. That would be my dream, to work with someone that, like, I live in Miami. Maybe I'm blaming Miami or the state of Florida, but like maybe it's like worldwide, but like I'm not impressed, man. I'm not trying to like sound elite, but I figure like there's certain things that I shouldn't have to beg my peers to do, especially if there's a history of firefighting. So that's me going on a rant right now. Yeah, so that's it. How long have you been watching our videos? Because I think this was volume 88. Did you come in at like 60?
I actually don't know. It's just like, I actually don't remember how I stumbled into you. So it was like some accident. And since then, I'm working at this time. So if I can run it, I let it run in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, you didn't have to turn off your mic, but I don't know. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about for the next 5 minutes or 10 minutes?
I don't know. What were we talking about?
Roman, you have any passion projects?
There we go.
I barely get time to, I don't know. I have maybe during the Christmas break, I work on something. I try to kind of, how is it called? Kind of an ngrok clone.
A what clone?
Ngrok, it's like when you have some devs, you have some like local dev server and you shorten it for something, endpoint.
Okay.
So you can type ngrok this port and you get some random URL. And I probably build a clone of that if I got the time. I'm not sure if I finish it.
So it's like sorry, I'm looking at ngrok now. I've never actually looked at it, but it's is it just a, oh gosh, I'm sorry.
It's like a temporary proxy to your machine.
Oh, okay.
Like, for example, a typical example, you're building some, let's say, OAuth integration with some service, and the callback and you have your development stuff locally, but let's say Google or whatever the callback needs to be a public reachable URL, so you can use ngrok to call back into your local.
Oh, okay.
Service.
Is ngrok spelled NGROK?
Yeah, I can.
Videos.
I think NGROK or something.
How to make a Minecraft server with ngrok. Why is Minecraft so popular? I don't understand.
Have you played it?
It's like the Legos of video games. No, I haven't.
Try playing it. You'll understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
I heard the founder was like extremely depressed afterwards after his success or something.
The Minecraft or what?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
He was.
I never played it, so.
Is he still around?
I don't think he's at the company, or is he?
No, he's not.
I was talking about, is he still alive?
Yeah. His name, like, you can follow him on Twitter. His name's Notch. Although he was joking about leaving it forever for now, but it looks like he's still active there. So.
With income.
He's 41. Where is he from?
I think he's from, was it
Swedish?
Sweden, yeah. He's not from where Roman is.
No. So I have to drop. He doesn't want to sleep. So.
It's so real.
Yeah.
So what was the author's, I'll just say, issue? Like, does it talk about anything in here? Probably doesn't. I think they're like on Simple Programmer, John Simon has mentioned it, like depression or whatever. And he had made reference to the Minecraft creator.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was. I mean, I could conjecture, but I mean, I it would be fools. I mean, I think part of it might be that when you make a ton of money like that, it's hard to know why people are trying to be your friend. I mean, that might be part of it. It might be too that, one of the things that what happens to people when they find success is if they have, or they come into money, and this happens with a lot of lottery winners, is that they don't know what to do with themselves. Same with retirees.
That happened to me after I graduated college.
Yeah.
For like 2 months, I was in that state where like I didn't know what to do. I feel like it's the same thing when children move out. I mean, not that I would know, but
Yeah, it's empty nesting, which is, I think, a little bit different, but it's probably the same theoretical, like, I mean, I'm just guessing here. I'm not a psychologist and I won't claim to be one, but but I mean, it is like if you did have, like, you felt like so much of your life was bound up into the creation or the, taking care of your children or whatever, and then they leave, like, suddenly you have a big gap that you have to fill in terms of your identity and what you do. That's an uncomfortable place to be. It's the same thing with like midlife. I think we talked about midlife crises and stuff a while ago, and that middle passage is a lot about, if you have this big gaping hole of not knowing who you want to be and what kind of lights you up and how to wield it. It's a really uncomfortable place to be, and it can really lead to depression and all sorts of stuff. So, yeah, or like I said, I think a lot of people, what they end up doing in midlife is, again, they just recycle, which is leave your current spouse and your kids, go out and do the 20s or the 18 to 20-year-old stuff for like a year, meet someone new, get married to them, have a new family.
Well, that's the second mistake, is get married again. Who does that?
People do it all the time.
I know.
Some people do it 3-4 times.
Like it's okay to like find a new partner, but why would you F it up by getting married again? Like involving cops and judges, like.
But that's the cycle, though. I mean, and that's what I was talking about. Is that's the cycle, right? It's the script, as we know it. Like, you should read that book Unscripted sometime, which doesn't talk about this particular, but it is like we have this script in our head of this is how things are supposed to go, and when the script ends, which happens at midlife, you don't know what to do. One option is to just restart the script again, which is why, like, a lot of people will change careers. They'll meet, like, new people to become, interested in. They'll start a new family or a new whatever, and they'll just repeat that for the second half of life. So that happens. But yeah, I don't know. But I think it's in response to the fact that it's a really uncomfortable position to be in when you get to a point where you don't know who you want to be and how you want to be and how to get through that next half. Like, what do you do? You've made it to midlife, and you've done everything you're supposed to do. You should be dead now.
That's a good point.
You got another 30 to 40 years to go, or 20 to 40 maybe.
Well, in sports, they just start immediately training for next season to get the championship.
Yeah, but what happens when they end? When their career's over in sports, a lot of them,
they're usually, I don't know. I don't have any friends or professional athletes, but I mean, let's be real. Like, I think the majority of them probably don't fare well, and it's a sharp decline. I think with more than half of them, you go from making tens of millions a year. And if they're not financially sound, they have no education on investing, they probably go from tens of millions a year to probably like 30,000 a year because they never knew how to invest on their own. And whoever was supposed to invest for them probably screwed them over. Like, sounds kind of prejudiced, but like, I remember reading the story of San Antonio player. It was a dude that has like a monotone face. The star of San Antonio a long time ago.
Deion Sanders or no?
No, the tall dude. He was like the center.
Yeah,
You know what I'm talking about, though, right?
no.
San Antonio Spurs. That's what.
Basketball. I don't know.
Whatever that star was.
Basketball.
Yeah, like
So,
I heard there's like stories that he lost like $20 million from an investor. That's why. I don't know. I kind of feel sorry for people like that. I know it's probably not popular to feel sorry for people that have hella millions of dollars and they lose it all or whatever, but I feel sorry because it's a huge change in lifestyle, and I think a lot of people, and it may be unfortunate, but they grade their accomplishments in life and their status in life off of how much money they have, because they believe that that's how the world grades them.
yeah.
How much value they can generate equals how much money they can generate for the world.
Yeah. Well, they're correlated, but they're not necessarily the same. So it's, I mean, value. Money is value. It's just captured. It's represented value. But I don't know. But yeah, you get done with your script, and wouldn't it be interesting if you knew what you're supposed to do for the next 10 years, 20 years? Like you have the next phase of your life figured out. Like what if there was some other sort of thing? Like you get married, you have kids now, and now you're supposed to do X, Y, and Z. Like everybody is expected to discover a mineral or something. I don't know. And so that's what everybody kind of dedicates their next phase of life to. Like there's nothing, like there's no script. You have to figure it out on your own.
I mean, you try to change the world based on the influence that you now have.
Yeah. Well, I think that's maybe what the secret of most of the, isn't that really the secret of most of the self-help books, is eventually is you find out that really what you're supposed to do in the last half of life is to help others. And that's it. Like it's supposed to make it about other people.
I think it all revolves around finding your purpose, and finding your purpose gives you a reason to keep living, I think. Yeah. It's weird because I think that as children, you don't have a purpose. You just play and you learn and you build up your personal reality or your personality, right? But then, like, I honestly think that once you have a life-altering event, the whole paradigm changes and it's all about purpose. All right. I really do believe that. Once you have a life-altering event, whether it happened to you specifically or someone that you're really, really, really close to that you're just extremely empathetic to, I think your paradigm changes in regards to your motivation for living. So,
yeah. You should read a book or listen to it called I thought it was kind of interesting. I listened to it, and maybe I talked about this. Is it Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl?
Okay.
He's a Holocaust survivor. He talks about he talks about his experience in the concentration camps from a psychological perspective, and he sets up his school of psychology, which is logotherapy, which is all about searching for meaning. People search for meaning. So
yeah,
I listened to it.
I couldn't imagine. Look, I mean, I have no grounds to really speak on it, but I feel as if it would be so much easier to experience traumatic things as a child versus as a middle-aged adult. Like, I don't know. Like for me, I'm just now touching the surface of psyche and mental behavior and how complicated it is. And the peace of mind and all that stuff. I think as children, like you take all that stuff for granted, and I don't know. I just feel like the older I grow, the more attention I pay to like mental health and making sure that things are in check. You know,
Yeah. Well, ignorance is bliss, right?
it really is. Some people, they don't want to take that. What is it? The red pill? Nah, because then that's going to open up a lot of stuff.
Yeah. But I mean, that's what being a kid is it's being ignorant to all this stuff. You're also protected. I mean, you're projecting into your parents for the most part, people that have parents anyways, or figures or whatever that they'll kind of keep you safe and that they can control the environment and that they're not in it just like you are. You don't really understand that till you get older. Um, and then you might freak out a little bit, um, but yeah, I don't know. I forgot I was going to go with that. I had a direction and then it just went.
Oh, you were speaking of parents
Yeah,
shielding their children from
Oh
psychological.
yeah. So you can live in ignorance, just of all of this stuff, and then eventually you start to gain it, and then the world's terrifying to a certain extent.
Oh, the mind is terrifying. It's just weird, like how primitive the human mind is. It's weird, the whole nervous system, right? How like once it freaks out, it takes so much time, hopefully, if there is time, to heal or console it, right? Like I don't know.
Yeah, rewiring and all that.
Yeah. It's weird. Like we program computers with syntax, and people can argue, but I feel like the mind is programmed by emotional experiences of the past.
Yeah, I don't understand people that say that I guess I don't understand the assertion that a mind isn't a computer or isn't like a computer. I mean, it's infinitely more complex than the computers we think about. That's for sure. Like the complexities are, but it feels like the same basic operations are happening, right? You take in input that has to be interpreted. There's side effects, there's storage, like all of the all of the building blocks that we talk about in computing are there in the way we discuss mental models and stuff like that. So,
But I would argue that the mind is illogical. That's the difference.
what do you mean it's illogical?
Okay. So we knowingly do things that we know are not in our best interests for instant gratification, even though we know that it's going to be our demise. People cheat on their spouses for that instant gratification, right? Due to physical needs. It's illogical, right? People are
illogical though, right? You've weighed it. You know it's not in your best interest, but you've decided that the urge to do X, Y, Z is outweighs the perceived drawbacks.
I would argue that the majority of people are not atheists, right? They choose to believe in not just God, but an emotional God, right? And so they do certain things. They have certain belief systems that there's no proof, right? There's no scientific proof, at least in 2020, going into 2021, but they have an investment in it, and it's not logical. It's not. It's emotional. And it gets them through life. So maybe that's another.
Yeah, faith is purely. I mean, faith in general, like the idea of it, is it intentionally being irrational or illogical with stuff. I mean, but that I don't know. I don't know that stuff is. I don't know that stuff is not, computational in a way.
Uh, the brain is complicated.
Yeah.
If you say yeah,
but it's a
but take a huge dose of a psychedelic.
So one
really understand how complicated the brain is.
Yeah, you're rewiring stuff. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's infinitely more complex. Like it's hard for us to understand it. it's not like a computer where we can understand it, we can classify it, but I don't think that the basic operations of them are really any different. There's input, there's processing, there's output, there's I don't know, I guess there's projection.
So here's one difference. One of the differences between the human mind or human brain versus a computer is memory. Okay, so whatever 1995 was, I can't really do the math, but I'm sure it's like more than 20 years ago. I can't do the math right now. Like I know all the details of when my father died because I was there, right? And so like I would have a photograph, I would have a film playing in my head every single day for a really, really long time about every single detail of when I watched them die, right? The reason why I say that is because the brain is interesting because it remembers details of things that happened decades ago, right? It remembers things, it remembers emotions of how you felt as a child that were maybe traumatic from a very, very long time ago. And it remembers those exact details, right? And how it took a toll on your body, right? Your whole nervous system was just wrecked, right? Because of what you observed or witnessed. However, I can't tell you what we talked about at 8:13 a.m. today. I can't tell you what we talked about at that.
Yeah, but that's all about. But I mean, isn't that long-term, short-term memory stuff? I mean, it's memory. It sounds very computational to me. Like you color, you get rid of stuff that takes up space that you don't need or that you don't want. You might internalize it. You might not remember it exactly. You might have interpreted it and cleared it out of your cache because you don't like. There's no need to maintain it. You know, larger, bigger events, important things. Yeah, you hold on to them, but that's disk space or memory space, man.
But my argument is that's why it's different from a computer. A computer is garbage in, garbage out. It's going to keep everything, right? And you have to say what's important and what's not important, right? At least you have to program that in. With the brain or with the mind, it's programmed with an emotional past. That's it. You see a pretty girl at the age of 12 or at the age of 8, and you try to say something to her, right? And she says you're ugly. That's programmed into you. You think twice about approaching the next person.
Yeah, it's an operating like, but your operating system is kind of making some of those decisions for you on autopilot. You don't consciously make a lot of those decisions. I'm saying that there could be baseline code, just like Windows saves stuff for me that maybe I don't want to save necessarily, or I consciously think to save. But it takes in data and it interprets it and it decides whether to bring that up for me at any given time. Now these are all simplistic metaphors, but I mean, and yeah, the mind is complex, but I don't think that it can't be described in the same way, and that the parallels are there.
Well, my argument is they're different because the mind is programmed with emotions. It is, and no computer has that, right? A computer can statistically, right? Artificial intelligence, feel free to correct me, will perform statistically how to achieve an objective with with a percentage of certainty, right? But there's no emotions. Like if you put a computer to choose saving a baby girl versus an old man, right? And one's like 5 feet away and the other one is like 20 feet away, like the computer probably won't perform what a human being would perform.
Well, that's just because it's not. I mean, they're not exactly the same in the way that they're constructed, but I don't think that means that if you had a computer that was similarly constructed with emotional response, and is it even emotion? I think I was listening to a podcast, and like there are people that don't experience emotion.
Well,
It's
psychopath.
not the way that we think of sociopaths either. Let me see if I can find that podcast episode. I think it was an Art of Manliness podcast episode, which, like I said, if you haven't listened to that podcast, it's worth listening to. He just covers so many just random things. But there are people, I think, that don't experience emotion, and it's
From
cultural.
birth or after something traumatic. Like if they grew up in a cartel, right, and they've been doing deeds for them, I'm sure over time they probably don't have as much empathy.
But it's not about it's about, oh gosh, I'd murder it. But emotion is like a certain kind of response to stuff. There's mood, which is different, and there are people like we get moody. But man, I wish I could find it here. But yeah, I'm not going to be able to find it probably. But it might have been an older one that I was listening to. There are cultures that don't experience emotion in the same way. But still, I think emotion could definitely be built into a computer system. I think it's just it's a reaction to certain stimuli, right?
Yeah.
So if you were like, you saved what was the thing?
The
value
old man and the saving thing, old man like 5 feet away and a little girl 20 feet away or something like that.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, it's a moral dilemma, which is maybe why we think through it. I don't know that any of us know what we would do in that kind of situation. But we wouldn't do it. We wouldn't do it purposefully. I guarantee that it would be something automatic.
Most of us
wouldn't decide.
Most of us would choose based on what our conscious would accept. Right?
Yeah, it's an automatic response.
Accept. So, like, if I had to choose between a little girl or an old man, I think my conscience would probably torment me for letting that little girl drown, and she never really had a life to really fulfill.
Well, you think that's what it would do, but you don't know until you're put in that position, right? Because it's an automatic response based on stuff. I don't think you sit there and contemplate, in that fraction of a second, what your response is going to be. In the same way that, when you sit there and everyone thinks that they'd be the one to help someone if they're,
someone comes in with a gun.
Yeah, I'm going to be that person. Like, you don't know.
Everybody has someone else to do it, and then they'll follow through.
Yeah. So it's like, it's easy when you're sitting back thinking about it as, oh yeah, this is how I'd probably do it. But when it actually happens, it's not an emotional response. It's just an automatic response based on all of the factors at play at that given time, including your own self-interest. Like, that girl might be 20 feet out in tumultuous waters and you don't know how to swim very well.
Yeah,
you're immediately scared of doing that, but being like, well, my automatic calculation is I can probably help the guy that's 5 feet from me. I'm not going to be able to help that person out there.
That's a really good point.
So but yeah, the thing is, it's all on autopilot. There's a lot of stuff that we don't actively control. But that's really cool though too, is if you get into, like, I don't know if you've read the book Psycho-Cybernetics or stuff like that, but the idea of wielding your subconscious's ability to actualize things, and basically, because what I think that book suggests, and then what a lot of other books suggest, is to hack or program your subconscious. And they suggest to do it through active visualization, to say, well, you need to create a state in your subconscious that puts something you desire in conflict with reality. So you visualize that this thing should be there, it's not there, and then your subconscious is a bit like a homing device, or like a thing that will make you do the stuff that takes to get to that greater good. And that's the power of that visualization and what they suggest with psychos.
You remember what led him to write that book, right?
Yeah, plastic surgery or whatever, and seeing the difference that people have in themselves afterwards. And but I think was the idea that the fact that they could see themselves differently, and the attitude change that happened with that, and how nothing real actually changed other than just how they visualize themselves.
Yeah.
And that's where the whole visualization and how it affects your conscious or your subconscious activity, I think, is what came to this forefront.
Well,
But his
I feel like all this is related to placebo.
and that's the same thing. Is
Yeah.
you visualize the results in your head, and your body, your mind, or your like subconscious, the stuff that you're not controlling, actually makes it a reality.
I mean, a prime example, and I think I probably mentioned it, is like you think about a past experience with someone like hella beautiful, and you spent the night with them, and you start reliving that moment, and then like you start getting aroused, right? Just from the thought. Now all that blood is going straight to your crotch. Like,
Yeah. So you're visualizing something that comes into conflict with what your body thinks the state you're in or want to be in, and it makes at least your side of it happen, whether you want it to or not.
I remember like 3 years ago, I had fell out with a cop that threatened to arrest me because I told a white family, I screamed at a white family for putting their children on my motorcycle. Like, they didn't have any permission. It was a $25,000 motorcycle, right? And I'm sure there's three sides to the story, right? But like, I feel like the cop screamed at me, threatened to arrest me because I had the audacity to tell a white family to get off my property.
I'd tell them to get off my motorcycle too.
So I interpreted it as like, how dare I, scream at them, right? And so the reason why I mentioned that is because I kept reliving that moment for like the next 2 months, and every time I would have a flashback, I would just get emotional and I would start seeing red. I hated that cop. I still know what he looks like. Like, ooh, I wish he didn't have a badge. Like, and it's just weird how like you can relive an event and your body cannot differentiate that it happened a month or a couple months ago. Your body still responds with anger, adrenaline, ready to go to war. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's the whole thing with psychocybernetics, is that you can imagine stuff that hasn't happened and your body will react to it. And that's the entire thing about visualization, is that your body can't tell the difference between a real or a fake memory. Like, if you construct one and feed it to it consistently.
Yeah, I know.
And it will interpret that, but it also is a conflict resolution. I think the idea there is, again, that it's a conflict resolution thing, is that if you're visualizing this thing you're supposed to be doing or supposed to have or want, and you don't actually have that thing in reality, it sits in conflict. And after enough time, it will try to resolve that conflict automatically, because your body wants this equilibrium, this consistency in it, like your mind does. So it's crazy. Like, yeah, it is a.
What's fascinating is, in addition to that, how sound can influence the mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I get more out of my workouts if I'm bumping some Rick Ross as I'm doing pull-ups, or as I'm bench. Like when I'm bumping like gangster rap that has like a sick beat to it, I have more motivation to do that extra rep, to do the extra pull-up, right? If I have no music at all, even if I'm trying to listen to a documentary, it's almost guaranteed that I'm not going to perform at the same, rate, whatever that term is, within my workout. It's weird how like even sound, aka music, can psych your mind into being more productive and doing things that is more strenuous. So
or visual. So before the last interviews that I've done, you get those kind of like nervousness before interviews. I went and watched this on YouTube. There's this one called Why We Fall. It's like a motivational video. And it's just like a conglomerate of, or is it called Why We Fall? Yeah, I think it's called Why We Fall. If you look up on YouTube Why We Fall motivational video, it's like got 71 million views. And I watched that and just I get super pumped up, and then I'm all ready to go for the interview. So I don't know. It's like there's been a few times where I've pulled that out where I'm like, I need to be on game. I need to be like motivated and interested and cognitively like ready to go. And just getting in that mood by watching something like one of these motivational videos does it. So I know exactly what you mean and you add the visual imagery to it too, and it takes it to a whole nother level, or can.
Yeah. But playing some David Goggins before I begin my workout.
Yeah.
It's weird, man, because it's weird. Like, I feel like he's talking to you. He's like telling you to man up and stop being a pussy, and like, I need that.
Yeah.
To perform the whatever exercise. So
Yeah. If I find that thing about societies that don't have emotion, actually I should have just searched for it.
I don't think there are societies or tribes that don't have emotion. Obviously I'm saying this out of just ignorance because I'm not a historian, but that's why we're humane. Like, yeah, there's people that are wired differently, but I think that's through. I'm not a psychologist, but I'm willing to bet that that's through something that happened to them, and it's not something they were just born with.
Yeah, well, it's a cultural thing, but man, I wish I could find.
The first thing I think about is like Ted Bundy or who's a serial killer molester. He got killed in prison. They ran a mop stick through his butthole. What's the thing? You know what I'm talking about?
No, well, I it sounds vaguely familiar, but I couldn't tell you who it was.
Cleveland had some weird. Like 10 years ago, Cleveland was known for like kidnapping people and keeping them locked up.
Oh, really? Oof.
Yeah. There was like 2 sensational news stories like within 1 year of each other of people targeting women, locking them up in their basements for like a long time. I remember like, I don't know her name. I'm sure it wasn't Amber, right? Because I don't think it's related to Amber Alert. But I remember seeing like flyers all over the west side of Cleveland for this missing girl. And then like, I think like 15 years later, this frantic woman came running out of the house.
Oh yeah, I know that one.
Yeah.
And then the guy's like, I went to go get my McDonald's, and
yeah.
Yeah.
Then like a year later in East Cleveland, a guy had like, I think he had like 7 bodies in his home. And he would target drug addict women. And one of them was able to, I don't think he locked her up. I think she came in, realized something wasn't right, and tried to leave. And he was trying to restrain her from leaving. And she ended up breaking away and then screaming to the top of her lungs. And then they came. So he's on death row. Yeah, Cleveland developed a reputation for kidnapping women and keeping them there. So,
oof. Yeah, only two events was all that took apparently.
Yep.
But yeah, it's odd because like 99.9% of all Cleveland is probably just fine, and then there's these like 2 weirdos that might exist right now in pretty much every major city. We don't know. There's lots of people like, I don't know. You know, it was weird in the news. Like, you didn't hear much about this, but they had gone and done a bunch of raids over the last few months, and they found like hundreds of children that were being like trafficked, like hundreds of them. But it was like a side item on a thing, and a news article or whatever. But it's
what does that mean?
crazy.
You say here in the States? Like,
Yeah. I can't remember what it was called. It's like
How you track the children? Like these children were kidnapped. These children were foster children that ran away. Like, what does that mean?
um, I don't know. I've never. Okay, is it? Hold on a second.
And were they children or were they teenagers?
This was, let's see, in September. There was 170 arrested in a Florida human trafficking case. It was called Operation Safety Net.
Of course, it's Florida.
It was the U.S. Marshals who did it. They recovered 35 missing children, ranging from age 13 to 18, that were tied into human trafficking. And then they previously found 25 children during the operation, some of them in Miami. There's still 5 cases open remaining. But they they found all these kids and stuff, and it's like it barely made a blip on the news radar. Oh. And then this one was in Ohio. It's where, everywhere you live, you might be the kingpin. I don't know. Just kidding. This was in Georgia. They found 39 endangered children in Georgia, and in Ohio they found 25 as well. Or maybe it was.
The question is, when they say children, are they just referring to minors under the age of 18, or are they literally children? Like that's what I'm curious about.
Minors, I think, is what they said here. So Operation Safety Net was in Cleveland, Ohio. Yeah, 35 children during Operation Safety Net. But I thought that extended to Florida as well. Like they kept finding a bunch of different kids.
Florida is a weird state, man. Florida and California. I feel like they're just weird. There's always news coming out of those 2 states.
Yeah.
I feel like New York has a very, very strong state police and city police law enforcement. I feel like they're a lot stronger and they're able to stop things before they get started. But I feel like Florida is just the Wild West.
Okay, yeah, it was Ohio. But like I said, I thought there was some in Florida as well.
Your dog's asleep.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he snores. I was trying to record some videos, and man, it's really tough when he's sitting there going every 5 seconds.
I watch my dog. Have you ever watched your dog dreaming?
Yeah. Well, my
dog
one.
on her back.
Yeah, my other dog is a retriever. She does that where she'll do the running and start scratching the wall, and while she's dreaming. So, but
Well,
all right, yeah, we can call it good.
Good stuff.
Same time next week then because it's New Year's on.
When is New Year's?
New Year's is Friday as well. So
I've been trying to look for. I've been binge watching YouTube videos on Japan, and I don't think their border is open for me. But
yeah, this year's kind of stunk because for this whole COVID thing. So if you think about it, July 4th in the States, like Independence Day, was on a Saturday this year. Couldn't do crap. And then Halloween is on a Saturday. Couldn't do crap. And Christmas is on a Friday, which is great. And New Year's is on a Friday and that's 2021. But like the stars aligned for this to be a great year with all of the various things going on, with all like the holidays.
The best thing that's ever happened in 2020 was the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction.
Oh yeah, we saw the planets last night.
I had my astronomer binoculars on my balcony. I saw it.
Yeah, it's nuts. You ever go to a place where there's no light pollution or limited light pollution?
The great blackout of, I thought it was 2003 in the Midwest. That's the first time I saw a galaxy.
The Milky Way, yeah. It's cool.
Like, have you ever experienced a blackout in your city?
No, we've been without power before, but never. I don't think it's been
Yeah,
from.
that was the first time I actually saw a galaxy.
Yeah, but we have. Whenever I go on that canoe trip, I mean, that's one of these like national light sanctuaries or whatever. So there's very very little light pollution in the boundary waters area. So there's pretty much none. So you can see the galaxies. You can just look up and see satellites flying by, and it's nuts, man. It's so clear. Assuming you don't get a cloudy night or whatever, but yeah.
Now you look up, you probably just see Starlink all over the place.
Oh yeah, there's lots of there's
Polluting
these
the
cool
orbit.
things too, called iridium flares. You should look them up sometime. Iridium flares. They're like these extremely bright. They look like they're like meteors or something, but they're actually satellites that China put up there. So it's yeah. Anyways, iridium flares. Look those up sometime. But I should probably get going here.
That's been real. Did you
Yeah.
type that into the chat?
Huh?
How do you spell uridium?
Or iridium. Hold on, let me find a good thing that explains them. Well, they're called satellite flares, but iridium flares are a particular subset of satellite flares. They're particularly bright.
Okay.
So, Iridium constellation launched 95 telecommunications satellites into low Earth orbit. They were caused iridium flares, which are the brightest of all orbiting satellites.
It's amazing how you can see a satellite that I assume is probably the size of a bus from like 200 miles away. Like
maybe you can't see them anymore. They might have cleared them all out. So they might have finished it by 2019. So maybe you can't see an iridium flare anymore. So I think in 2018 is when we looked up and saw one. So they were still active then, but they were extremely bright satellites. So, but dang, that was kind of cool.
All right, well, it's been real. So,
All righty.
See you. Enjoy your weekend.
Yep, you too. Bye.